running the game, it's easier to start with kid mode because of the simpler controls, and then just as you get more used to it and more familiar with the game mechanics, then eventually moving up to the other categories. Oh, it's fine.
Kid mode!
Kid mode.
All right, we are ready to go.
All right. Timing starts in 3, 2, 1, go. So first of all, there's like this really long narration from Stan Lee. So there's a lot. He'll like chime in different areas of the game, but so basic mechanic I'm going to go over first is swing canceling.
Welcome, true believers.
The fastest way to make it through the world
Spider-Man
is
co-creator
through
Stan
using
Lee
your,
here.
is through web
Once
swinging.
again, we find our
And
hero
there's some
Peter
instances
Parker,
where
better known
sometimes
around
you
the
only do
world
one
as the
swing before you land, and
amazing
sometimes you do
Spider-Man in a heap
two.
of
And
trouble.
when you're right about to
But
do the
this is just
second
the
swing,
beginning,
if I
Spidey
press
fans.
the punch
So
button,
get ready
which
for
is
a
square,
true
so if I press
superhero
square to
action
cancel it
thriller.
and then
Packed
hit
to
swing
the
again,
brim
I'll
with
actually
thrills
build
and
more
chills,
momentum and will actually go
twists and
faster
turns.
than if I were to just be swinging on my own.
Web at it, of course.
And so
Web
swinging
swinging,
becomes
wall
like
crawling,
really key, and
action.
actually in some areas I'll get to it when we actually get to there in the run, but it's actually like significantly tougher
Spider.
to actually get that
Hey,
swing
Black
across.
Cat, what's going on?
And
I know there's been some
because
trouble,
it'll
but the
do like
bank's
some
being
swing
robbed,
chains where we'll
and
actually
they've
lock
got
onto buildings and then
hostages.
skip to other
Use your
buildings
Spidey compass to get to the bank
just through some
quickly.
advanced swinging.
Thanks, Cat.
So there was the first instance of swing canceling where it builds up the one momentum, one thing, and then I cancel it to go again.
Something's going on here.
Now here I didn't want to cancel because if I were to cancel my swing there, I would have tried to attack that enemy that was down in the corner. And so that adds a little bit more, that adds a little bit more complication on it. So that's the first level, get to the bank, which you don't actually get to the bank, so it's kind of poorly named. So this next level, I will be talking about targeting, target web, which is where you actually will
just
aim
my luck.
your webbing.
I'll probably
because,
get blamed for that, too.
If I do that, then I can skip
Is
a
that the
huge
bank
chunk
ahead?
of wall crawling and save about 5 seconds
Be careful, Spider.
before I get onto this
I saw
building.
the chopper dropping off armed robbers on
And as you
top
can
of
see, the
bank.
wonderful Black Cat animations they have going
Thanks for
on.
the heads up, Cat.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push L1 to target my web, and then I lock on to the top there where I'll swing up, and then I don't have nearly as much wall crawling as I have to do as to whether or not just climbing up there, just swinging normally. So the main way you're going to kill enemies in this game is through web balls. It's the strongest way.
That's the last one. Hope these hostages are
And
still all
so
right.
that's just like the easiest way that they have it, I guess. It makes it just more simple because it's a more direct attack, and rather than trying to do anything else, which uses up a lot more time. So this level we're going to get into probably what is the most difficult trick, and the reason for that is because it only saves about 3 seconds. It's just a simple cutscene overlap.
Make sure they don't get hurt.
But it requires a lot of precise, like, lining up my shot and just making sure that I have it all
Full health.
just sort of like ready to go. So I'm going to kill that guy, throw a web ball there, got it. So what I did there is I overlapped the cutscene for that third door being opened as well as the first one, so that way I only had to watch one of them. And now I can go through this door without actually having to do anything.
My compass can show me the way to the next floor. Gotta get there quick.
So as you can see, I also don't have to actually save the
going
hostages.
down?
I just aggro the enemies and the hostages just get up and run. So that is like super handy because then I don't actually have to take the time to go through and actually kill the enemies. So it actually saves like minutes for that.
Mind if I drop in?
So here is the first, another major trick, which saves about a solid minute. I lock on to sort of like that corner area, and I clip through the door there.
Uh-oh, more hostages and a bomb.
That saves a lot of time because that door does not open unless you kill all of the enemies.
Start the timer on the
And
bomb.
so it's easier because you can just clip through, and it's a fairly simple trick, and it saves a huge amount of time.
The robbers have been taken care of.
This is a
What
bomb.
can I do about the bomb?
And what do we do with bombs? We pick them up and we throw them. Because that is the fastest way to get rid of a bomb, is to just pick it up and throw it everywhere.
Oh, big safe.
So that was
Not
sort of
this
like the
time,
first
guys.
arc. The actual lore of the story is like, the reason why you can't see the ground is because there was this like, apparently Dr. Otto Octavius, otherwise known as Doc Ock, was reformed and like created this device that was supposed to like save a bunch of energy. It's supposed to be like this self-sufficient energy device.
Oh, Spidey.
And,
Scorpions
well,
out
an
for
imposter
old
of
J.
Spider-Man
Jameson.
actually
Day
ends up
one.
stealing that
Blaming
device,
Jameson for being
and
stuck
so
in his
now
Scorpion
Spider-Man
suit.
has to not only
Spidey
deal with
had
his
better
own
get
guilt,
that quickly,
while
or
he has to clear his own
JJJ
name
may
and
end
figure
up
out
in
the
the
actual,
obituaries
like,
of his
who
own
the
paper.
criminal was without getting caught by the police, but, he ends up, that was weird, but he ends up, dealing with a lot of other issues. So, like, right now, J. Jonah Jameson, the owner of the Daily Bugle, is getting attacked by Scorpion because he apparently was the reason why Scorpion cannot get out of his own suit, and Scorpion's not too happy with him. So rather than calling the police, Spider-Man decides to be Spider-Man and do a long, complicated swing. This is actually where we get some of the more complicated swinging, but I kind of simplified it a little bit to make it a little bit more marathon safe so I don't die. Because when you die in this section, you lose, like, in this section, at least for me, I lose probably close to a minute and a half. And so, because each time you die in a level, you have to completely restart that level.
And do we have time right now for a donation?
Yep.
All right, we have a $5 donation from the original Xbox saying Squirtle Squad.
Oh. So now we're going to get into the first boss fight, which is Scorpion, since we just spent time running in to save J. Jonah Jameson, even though he's not the happiest to see us.
Butt out, webhead. Spider-Man? I asked for the police, and I get
So
this.
what I'm gonna do is I'm using web gloves that will give us increased damage, and then I use the specific combo that actually helps to do a lot more damage. And normally I can one cycle that and not have Jameson go through the door there, because that loses about 20 seconds for that little cutscene. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It was a pretty solid fight. Other hand, that little bit there though is just kind of RNG. So JJJ is not too happy with us that we saved his life because we're apparently wanted criminals, and now we have to run away from a police chopper. And this police chopper chase is the most difficult in terms of like swing accuracy, because there's a lot of complicated swing chains that need to come through, and that's just because if they don't happen, then this goes like extremely slow. So that was the first section. I mean, it's all fairly straightforward, so if there are any donations that come during this time, it'd be a great time to read them, because it's fairly self-explanatory. This next level is a little bit different. I have to crawl up this building without getting hit by missiles, but there are specific spots where the game will just allow you to just zip line up rather than having to focus on crawling the whole way. You can just use the zip line, get up here, and then move on to the next section. So now they've decided that missiles aren't working, so they're going to try and hit us with bullets, but they're really bad shots. So you can easily avoid them to just, and then zip line back up to the next section.
Stop now, Spidey. Hey! I'm innocent! Keep moving, Spidey.
Whoa, what? I just clipped... I don't know exactly what happened there, but I think I just clipped through that before the missile... I think I clipped through the window before the missiles actually hit it. And I've never seen that happen before, ever. So now we're going to get into a pretty long, boring climbing section, but then there's like a little cutscene skip that happens right up to it.
Nowhere to go but up.
Which is kind of
With the
nice.
shooting already.
Oh, jeez. It's like, so to hide from the police chopper, we just come up and we just start running, just jumping up this scaffolding
How tall
here
is this thing?
for literally 20 years. And so that crate right there, there's a little cutscene trigger, but because we're swinging to it, we can actually skip that, which I just did right there. So now there's normally like a cutscene there that takes about 15 to 20 seconds, but because of that cutscene skip, I don't have to worry about it. And so that saves a lot of time.
Keep moving, Spidey. These guys are relentless.
So that was a police chopper chase. Now we're going to get into the most difficult boss fight in the game, and that's the Rhino fight, which all they really did is put Rhino in for this one fight. The police chopper chase has nothing to do with Rhino. He just sort of gets his own little glory fight. And Rhino is a tough fight because he has a lot of weird recoil animations and stuff, and so you have to be like, it's the same sort of critical kill combos as Scorpion, but there's a lot more that goes into it, and there's a lot of precise timing, which I'm not getting at this point. But overall, that wasn't too bad of a fight.
The spider sense too.
And so now we're going to start the Venom arc, which is the longest arc in the game. In short, Venom kidnapped our wife, Mary Jane, and we ain't too happy about that.
Hurry up, Parker!
Move it, Spidey, move it!
So one instance I'm going to talk about in this section is normally what happens is, like, normally I'd want to cancel my swings, but because of the weird layout of these buildings, sometimes I don't want to cancel my swing, because if I do, my elevation drops down quite a bit. And so if I don't cancel my swing, then I don't land on the wall. But if I do, then I'll latch onto the wall, and I lose about a second from just through
Look out, lady.
Oh my
like dropping down a little bit, and I have to take that extra second to climb up.
Get out of my way, nerd. Watch that first step, Parker. It's a doozy.
Oh, toe, ow. Oh, toe, ow.
Yeah, look out, lady.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, sorry, lady. Didn't see a thing.
So there's this wonderful random glitch that happens. There aren't any explanations as to why it happens. It just does. So this is probably the last section of real complicated swinging maneuvers until we get to the monster Ock, which that's like quite a ways near the end of the run, so I'm not going to worry about explaining that until we get there.
If you want to fight, follow me.
So now we're going to get into fighting Venom for the first time. But the Venom fights are very RNG based because Venom has a sort of cloak that he does, as you'll see what happens here. We do the same combo that we do for every other boss. Here, Venom. But the RNG comes in because Venom will sometimes spawn in just different areas. And see, like right there, I had bad RNG, and his movement was rough, so I wasn't able to get that as good. Okay.
Come to Papa.
Like normally you can 2-cycle it, but with the bad RNG that ended up happening, but just from what I had though, that fight, for those last 2 bits, the RNG was pretty good and the fight didn't go too well.
Laying down on the job, Parker?
Where's my wife, you symbiote freak?
So now, like, this material, for some
Venom,
odd reason, it doesn't
hide.
let us swing here. It's, like, just the way that the material works out, and so all we can really do is just keep jumping.
Leftovers from one of those. Looks like the only way across the cavern is swinging to those pipes.
And these pipes can be a little annoying because if you don't jump the minimum distance, he just doesn't want to swing. Now, that was like the weirdest section I've ever done for swinging there.
Trap! I'm sorry, guys. Am I late for the party?
Right there, we had to kill those lizards in order to progress the level. And so we do that, and then we can just keep going with where we're at.
Who is it? Coming!
Must have gone this way.
Like another difference between Kid Mode and Easy is if you were playing in any of the other difficulties, you would actually have to use your target weapon, like we did in the climbing up to the bank. we would actually have to use that to swing across those pipes, but because it's kid mode, they decided to be nice to us and not make us do that. It's actually like a fairly complicated swinging section. So now we're getting into the big auto scroller. It's the subway, and all I have to do is stay on the subway for close to about 3 minutes. But if you do it right, you don't stay on there nearly as long because you just kill enemies really fast.
Spider-Man.
So if we have any donations during this time, we can go ahead and read those off, because now it's just going to be me fighting lizards for a long time.
Them are there?
James and stops fighting.
Sorry about that. I'm already at full health.
The only real time save you can get there is if you just kill them faster. So like there, I actually killed them all pretty fast. So I didn't actually have to sit through the entire auto-scroller. But there was still a decent amount of auto-scroller there that it still is, like, right now it's the second longest segment in the entire game. So now we're going to get into the next big trick, which skips this entire level. So what I'm going to do is... What I'm going to do, it's the same kind of clip. You clip through this door, and there's actually like a bit where you can actually swing through the lack of collision detection there. I like to call it swag swing, because it's like super hard to get. But see, that clip, it's a lot more precise than the bomb one, so that was actually like really well done for me to have gotten that fast. And now we're going to get into the most difficult level in the game. It's called Hidden Switches. It's coming up right here. It's super tough, and you will see why in a minute. And that was Hidden Switches, the most difficult level in the entire game. All it is, I think there was just some sort of like programming error, and it was supposed to be like, you had to go and, like, obviously find hidden switches to lower the water level, but that didn't end up happening. And so it's like, now it just ended up becoming you just run straight through it and you're good to go.
Looks like I better time this right.
So this is Tunnel Crawl. We're just going to be crawling through here for a while. So
move it, Spidey, move it!
It's nothing too... I think there was supposed to be like a timing aspect where the water level was supposed to raise and drop, but again, it didn't actually happen. There were a lot of programming things in this game that were supposed to happen but didn't. And so I can literally just sit here and just hold up, and I'll make it through the whole way without having any issues.
Gotta keep moving.
Coming through.
Like Venom, this whole time we're following him, but he's really just kind of tormenting us the whole time.
I'm already at full health.
So that was Tunnel Crawl. I'm not sure what the total number of levels are in this game, but there's a lot of like really short ones, and there's a lot of
Where are you?
longer ones.
Mary Jane won't last much longer.
I bet the right combination of switches will open all of the sewer pass gates.
So now what I'm going to be doing here is just sort of taking, like, doing a web ball there and then swinging across to that so that I can hit this angle at this next switch with another web ball and then zip line up. Yep, I missed.
Is it alright if I read a donation?
Yep, go ahead.
So JWK Tiger donated $30.
Look
Did
at
not
the
leave a
big
comment,
brain on
so thank you for that
Spidey.
donation.
There. That's the last switch.
So that
Come back
was
here, Venom!
Venom's puzzle, which isn't really much of a puzzle. And so now we're going to get into the Lizard's Maze, which is another long crawling section. There's a little bit of cycle RNG that I can have here. But first, like, Venom just shows up and you just beat the crap out of him and then run away because Venom cloaks and you don't see him
Find
again.
Mary Jane. I'm gonna need to crawl on this grating to get past this water.
So like this level, there's a lot of alternate routes that can be taken to get through it faster. And so like I think the community has it down to the fastest route, but I'm not 100% sure. And that's where the cycle RNG, you saw those things that squeeze together, that's the cycle RNG that's in the level. Because, well, you can hit, it is precisely timed, but I just don't have that figured out yet. I don't think anybody does. So to know as to whether or not you're actually going to hit the cycles is still kind of unknown. And then Venom decides to write warm on the walls is just sort of like a way to troll you again.
You're on fire, baby.
So, like, I might not hit this next one. Yeah, nope. Which, you just take a little bit of damage, so it's not like it's that big of a deal, because your health actually, I don't know if it's the same in easy as it is in kid mode, but in kid mode, your health does regenerate as you are going through the level, as you go from one level to the next. And so that makes it, like, super nice, because you can do a lot more riskier things, such as miss those, like, you can keep going and push those cycles rather than having to sit there and wait a couple extra seconds for them, as you would normally if you were just running it easy.
Help! Is anybody there?
So here's the whiniest person I've ever met in any single game that I've ever played.
You made it.
Venom!
Like, I understand that you're dangling ready to drown, but you'll hear it here, it's like, kind of ridiculous.
So,
Like,
what do you say?
I don't know exactly as to how that works, but it does. So the nice thing about, so this fight's actually like the most annoying because it is so RNG dependent. The nice thing about it though is you can hit the switch while you're still in the cutscene. It sort of gives you a slight bit of mobility. But Venom has 4 different areas where he can spawn, and so that just becomes like super difficult to try and keep track of. And I almost had that really good, but I mistimed my kick into that combo. So now I'm going to have to get one more cycle on him.
Oh boy.
So I got him there. That was a pretty solid fight. Normally that fight goes a lot worse, so I'm not going to...
Why, Venom? Why did you come...
So now Venom has learned that, like, oh crap, you were actually... Because Venom was, in this instance, was actually attempting to be a good guy. He saw that Spider-Man was framed. Well, he didn't know that Spider-Man was framed, so he believed that Spider-Man was actually, like, the person who stole that device.
Must be looking for
And so, like...
plunging into battle with symbiotes other than Carnage
So
and
then
Venom,
he steals
and hostages?
Mary Jane. He kidnaps Mary Jane as sort of like a way to attract Spider-Man and make him give the device back. But then he learns
this empty.
that he was actually like not. He was actually not the person who took
These symbiotes are everywhere.
the device, and learns that he was framed.
They seem to be coming from the
And then you actually team up with Venom now, but then Venom disappears because he's a pleb and doesn't actually like to stick around and do the dirty work. So here we're going to get into the most difficult trick of the entire run. It's called elevator skip, and what you're doing is I have to line up some collision detection stuff. It's another mishap in collision detection, but it requires a lot of precise lining up, and I'm hoping this is it. This seems right, and we're going to go for it. Yep, got it. First try. That's actually like super hype. I was not getting it at all today. Like, I spent probably a better chunk of an hour just practicing that one trick, and it could not get it consistent. So to get that first try, I'm actually like really happy.
printing press.
So now we're getting into kind of the final arc, which all revolves around these symbiotes. These generators are there that spawn more symbiotes, and they're required to take out, thank goodness, because they spawn more symbiotes, and that just becomes annoying. Especially since symbiotes are like the most difficult enemies to fight in the game, because your webbing does absolutely nothing on them. Okay, for some reason
Just aren't cutting it.
there we go.
Just one more.
And they take like 2 full combos to actually kill. And so, like, they're super annoying.
There are more downstairs.
And now they're the only kind of enemies that will show up other than the last bosses. But now we're going to get into another difficult trick. It's a kind of a big cutscene skip. It saves probably about a minute and 45 seconds. I'll explain it more
Basement of the Daily Bugle.
probably after it actually happens, because it requires a lot of focus and precise timing. Oh.
Right, the frying pan and into the fire. That's cool. It's a dry heat.
So here's where it happens. I gotta shoot this with a web ball, which I missed, and then swing over here, and I got it. Because if I wasn't over there to hit, normally there was like a trigger for the cutscene, and since I hit the web ball and was able to keep going,
I gotta say,
I was able to keep going and hit the trigger, be inside the trigger by the time that generator exploded when the trigger detonated. And so now we're getting into the Mysterio, which is the easiest boss in the entire game. Interesting thing about this is this one section on my disc always crashes the game fairly often. And like, that's the Mysterio fight. So, but
right now you're thinking,
yeah, you guys can clap. But so like, I brought my disc to the marathon, and when I went to load up the fight, it just would crash. And so like huge thank you to the staff
the
here for helping me out, making sure this run still happened, because I had no clue that this run was even going to happen today because of the fact that the disc just was not cooperating. Every other level works except that one.
More symbiotes.
So, but it kind of helps. It kind of works out. But
Well, that looks
I'd
like
rather
we're outta
have
here.
a run
First,
that's
I
for
need to
sure
destroy these
working
two
than one
generators.
where it's like, oh, wait a second, this fight can't
Clean
happen.
this place up too.
So now we're getting into the final arc of the game where we're actually going to... So Mysterio was the one who... The reason why the Mysterio fight comes in, I guess I should probably explain that,
More generators.
is Mysterio used like this power that he had to disguise himself as me, as Spider-Man, and so he was the one who framed us for that stealing of Octavius's device.
Concrete, the dripping water, very nice.
But since we stopped him, so now we have our name cleared. Now we just got to figure out what the heck is going on, who is controlling the symbiotes, and there's also this like fog that is spreading all across America, and they want to figure out where the heck this fog is coming from.
Woo! What a rush! How far down are we? You gotta be kidding. Okay, recap. A couple of 100 feet underwater, electrified floors and walls, and deadly turrets pointing straight at me. Oh, my day just keeps getting better and better.
So this level, you just kind of got to go through these trenches without... So
Hey,
you can't fall off
put
this
someone's eye out with
walkway. You can't wall crawl at all because everything's electrified. And you have to... And you want to try and get shot by the turrets at a very minimum. Which... So it sounds simple enough, but there are just sometimes where, like in my PB, it just did not want to... I got shot by... I couldn't actually swing to where I wanted to go.
Okay,
And so,
quit shooting the
like,
lasers.
I ended up falling and losing about a minute worth of time. But that worked out fairly well.
This place.
So we're getting into the last couple of levels. This next level is called Stopping the Fog. It's a fairly optimized level with swinging, unless there's some random out-of-bounds clip that hasn't been discovered yet. But this is the last normal level, and then we have 3 boss fights to close
This
out
must
the
be where
run.
the fog is coming from. Who is behind all this?
So now we're going to get into this really long cutscene because Black Cat actually,
Spider-Man!
she gets
I'm
hit
so
by
happy to
Rhino
see
way
you.
back in the Rhino fight, and then
What
she
are you
gets
doing?
picked up by an
Who's behind?
ambulance, but
What's
they're not
going on
actually
here?
paramedics, they're thugs who
Your guess is as
were
good as mine.
hired
The guys
to
in the
steal
ambulance must have
to
drugged me
kidnap
because
Black
the next
Cat.
thing I knew, I woke up here. You gotta get me out of here.
Okay, Cat, but how?
If you can somehow shut down the power, I can escape.
You got it, Cat. I bet these security controls will unlock some of these doors. Bingo! If I read this right, this panel controls the exhaust ports. If I can jam the exhaust ports without stopping the flow of fog, it'll be like a banana in a tailpipe. That ought to blow the power, too. Step in the right direction, but not enough pressure.
So now what I just do for the rest of the level is swing towards everything and try and knock those switches.
Almost. Sucker is ready to blow.
So I took a little bit more safe swinging there. There is a way to do it faster, but it comes with a lot of high risk, and so I didn't want to go for the high risk swinging. I still was able to clear it actually fairly quickly, but I would have been a little bit faster had I gone for the risk swinging. But I didn't do that just so that way we, because if I fall, then that's like 3 minutes. Then that's lost.
You did. It worked.
Hey, what else is a Spider-Man for? You go and get some help, Cat. I'll find out who's behind all this.
You got it. I'll be back.
So now we're getting into the second. There's 2 bosses and then 1 major swinging section, which I'll explain. But this next boss fight is Doc Ock, because of course Doc Ock wasn't actually reformed, and he wanted to conquer the world using symbiotes. And so this fight, Doc Ock is hiding behind his shield, and we can't actually like get to him until we take out his shield. Which is where the RNG of this level comes in, because these shield things are going to fall, and I have to shoot them with my web to take out his shield, so then we can get through and hurt Doc Ock. Which, the RNG is actually being really cooperative right now, so that's super nice.
That's it! Time to pay the piper, Ock.
Uh-oh. Looks like his shield
I have one-cycled him. I have never one-cycled him before in my entire life. Wow, that is actually crazy. So that was the Doc Ock fight. And so now I'm getting into fighting Carnage, and the way Carnage is a super straightforward fight. So what I have to do is I throw him into that sonic bubble. There's like a specific move set that I use that I haven't used yet in the entire run. So I'm going to pick Carnage up, grab him like that, and then you throw him kind of over here, because then you can keep him caught in the sonic bubble with web balls. And so that was the Carnage fight. It's fairly simple, fairly easy. Not much to it. Just make sure you line up the shot. It's nice to have him aligned with one of those generators, because then he can get stuck in that generator and then just doesn't move. So now we're in the last level of the game. Carnage's symbiote went on to Doc Ock and created Monster Ock. And so rather than actually try and fight him, because everything around us is exploding, we just run. And so this is where the last section of the run comes in, is just running away from this thing for about a solid 3 minutes.
The bed goes up here. You can press R1.
And what I want to do is I want to avoid sticking onto the wall, because sticking onto the wall I have to drop from it, and I lose a lot of momentum. So like I gotta go to each of the individual levels of the area.
Swinging Spidey. This thing's unstoppable. Stay away from me! Getting closer to the surface. Level 3. 2 more to go. Pressure's really building. Can't shake him. He's breathing down my neck. Back off!
time will be coming up here in just like the next probably 30, 40 seconds.
Yes!
Critical. Level 1! On the home stretch, baby!
Alright, and time. What was that? What was my time? That's a world record by over 2 minutes. And the first ever sub 45 in that category, if that was
You gotta be kidding.
so that was huge.
Perfect end to a perfect day.
Thank you guys so much for watching that. Shout outs to all my people at home watching. Thank you guys for the support. Love it. Love you guys. Again, huge thank you to the staff for actually helping this run to happen. Means a huge amount to me. And thank you guys for making my first ever marathon experience awesome.
Oh, brother.
Please go fish. So nice of